Hello, my name's Laura Coates and I'm an Associate Professor from the University of Oxford, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Psoriatic Arthritis Priority Setting Partnership. I'm presenting this on behalf of the British Psoriatic Arthritis Consortium, or BritPACT, who are leading the Priority Setting Partnership for PSA. So we really wish that we could be with you in person and be able to discuss this face to face, but given the current restrictions, we hope that we can have a great discussion online, and you should have received a pack of information as well as some refreshments to keep you going on the day through the post. So this priority setting partnership is focusing specifically on psoriatic arthritis. Psoriatic arthritis is a type of inflammatory arthritis that occurs usually in patients who have the skin condition psoriasis, and it affects up to a third of people who have skin psoriasis. There's already been a priority setting partnership looking at skin psoriasis itself, which was published a couple of years ago, and we're now specifically looking at the related arthritis. So what gave rise to the psoriatic arthritis PSP? I think the James Lind Alliance have done a great job in supporting these priority setting partnerships to ensure that we as researchers are researching the things that matter to patients and clinicians who live with and manage the disease day to day. We need more research into psoriatic arthritis. It's clear that there are many unanswered questions. We want to ensure that we're answering the right questions that can improve outcomes for people with the condition. The James Lind Alliance has a great track record and a great process for doing this, and so we were delighted to be accepted to lead the James Lind Priority Setting Partnership specifically for PSA. So the main aim of the Priority Setting Partnership is to look at the top 10 questions about psoriatic arthritis that you would like answered with research. The aim is that we come up with a long list of unmet needs that we are sure have not been previously answered in the research literature, but we really want to focus researchers' attention onto specific questions that matter the most to patients, their families and clinicians working in the field. So this priority setting partnership is run by the British Psoriatic Arthritis Consortium, or BritPACT, following the methodology set down by the James Lind Alliance. It's a UK funded exercise and the questions are specifically aimed at the UK, although they may well be relevant in many different countries. So what's the process? We start with the first survey and we ask people with psoriatic arthritis, their carers and clinicians to submit the key questions that they think are important and should be answered in future research. Those questions are taken forward to a literature review to ensure that the questions haven't already been answered in previous studies. And that gives us 3 different types of questions. Questions around service design. These are outside the scope of the James Lind PSP, but we are planning still to publish these. So questions and unmet needs about the best way to design services to support people with psoriatic arthritis. There are unrecognised knowns, so questions that have been submitted but have actually already been answered. And these represent an educational gap. What we need is to educate patients, carers and clinicians that these have already been answered. The word just needs to get out there. And obviously the third group that we come up with are the true uncertainties. These are the research questions that should be addressed moving forwards. And these true uncertainties were brought together and put into a second survey. And this second survey asked people with psoriatic arthritis, their carers, families and clinicians treating the condition to rank the questions and say which ones they thought were the most important. That ranking comes together in the final workshop, which we'll be holding together in July. And the aim of that workshop is to narrow down and agree on a top 10 research questions for psoriatic arthritis. So the literature review is now being completed, and we've moved forward into that second numbered survey at present, and we'll be bringing the results of that survey to you in the final workshop. So in the first survey we asked, what do you think are the most important unanswered questions in psoriatic arthritis research? This was launched in June 2020, and we had over 300 surveys with nearly 1,000 unmet needs identified. The majority of participants were between 25 and 74. Half were in middle age, and there were no under 16s. 3/4 of the surveys were completed by women, and the majority were of white ethnicity. The majority also lived in England, as this was a British focused effort predominantly, and 70% of those surveyed had psoriatic arthritis, 15% were a carer, relative or friend, and 15% were clinicians looking after people with psoriatic arthritis. And these are examples of some of the unmet needs that were proposed in that first survey. So questions about the causes of psoriatic arthritis, the treatment, tests that are needed, how do we make a diagnosis, and how should we support people with the condition. We combined all of those responses, nearly 1,000 questions, into 46 summary questions under these 8 themes: the causes of psoriatic arthritis, questions around diagnosis, the effect of the disease and the treatment, the impact of psoriatic arthritis, psychological, financial and social factors, flares of disease, treatment of psoriatic arthritis, questions related to COVID-19, which was particularly topical in 2020, and questions around gender. And these are examples of the summary questions. So a lot of questions overlapped and were similar. So we've created indicative questions which summarise all of the different questions submitted on that particular theme. So we had a lot of questions about diagnosis and predicting disease, and these were combined, for example, into can tests be developed to predict whether a person has or will develop psoriatic arthritis. We then underwent the evidence check, looking for high quality evidence from the research literature over the last 3 years. And the search looked for systematic reviews or guidelines for the treatment of psoriatic arthritis and reviewed 100 references. None of these reviews actually answered the questions. There were some that provided some small bit of the answer, but none of them completely answered the indicative questions. These were reviewed by all of our steering group and have been presented and reviewed by the team. The second survey then asked people to choose their top 10 from the list of indicative questions. And the survey went live on the 20th of April and will run until the 20th of June 2021. It's been promoted by our patient partners and email contacts with a number of the people who completed survey 1. So far this survey is still open, and we'll have the final results available for the workshop in July, but up to the end of May we've had 373 surveys completed so far, with similar demographics to the first survey, and again a majority of people who were patients with psoriatic arthritis. So the questions will be ranked by patients and carers and separately by healthcare professionals, because we know that often patients and healthcare professionals have different views on the priorities of these questions. What we'll be sharing in the workshop is the top questions promoted by the patients and the top questions promoted by the HCPs, so that we can work together to find an overall top 10 that both groups will support. So we really look forward to meeting you on the 12th of July and having your help and input to shape the future of research for psoriatic arthritis at our final workshop. I look forward to meeting you all then. I'm going to close by acknowledging the British Psoriatic Arthritis Consortium, or BritPACT, and the James Lind Alliance, who lead on the priority setting partnerships. And importantly, all of our partners who've worked with us to promote the survey to patients and carers and clinicians across the UK to help us access a wide variety of patients and give us input from all of these groups to make our surveys a success. Thank you very much.